Welcome to the Big Tech Gut Check here on Scrolling to Death. This is a weekly update for parents on all things social media and big tech. I hope you are all staying cool out there. It is a nice 105 degrees here in Southern California, and I'm in a sweatshirt in my cold house. So today's episode of Scrolling to Death is sponsored by Bark Technologies. I'm truly so grateful that these days we parents have a safer device option for our children, and that is the Bark phone. The Bark phone was built for families who are looking to ramp up their child's online safety. It has parental controls built in and allows us to manage their entire digital experience super easily. Oh, and Bark just announced that they're launching a watch, and they have a wait list that you can join. Click the link in my bio for more information. Now, let's jump to the updates for the week of September 2nd, 2024. I want to start by honoring the 2 students and the 2 teachers who lost their lives in the school shooting at Appalachia High School in Georgia. Mason Schermerhorn, Christian Angulo, Richard Aspinwall, and Christina Ermey. It is devastating that this is something that parents have to worry about when we send our kids to school, and it's one of the main reasons that parents choose to give their child a device to use and have access to at school. With the movement for schools across the country to go phone-free, you might be concerned about safety issues like school shootings. I addressed this concern specifically in this week's interview with Kim Whitman, who is one of the founders of the Phone-Free Schools movement. I highly recommend you listen to this episode to truly understand the issues that phones are causing in schools. And we also touch specifically on what happens when your child has a phone in a school shooting situation. Moving on to other news. This week, I got alerted to a huge issue over at Meta. Meta is big time failing in their reviewing of advertisements that get distributed out onto Facebook and Instagram. This is not a new problem. I've previously reported that Meta has been running ads for illicit drugs and counterfeit money and fake driver's licenses. But the latest finding is that Meta is advertising Nudify apps. If you're not familiar with these apps, they basically allow you to upload a photo of somebody, anybody, and make them look realistically naked. Kids are using this app on photos of their schoolmates, other children. These images that are produced of children are AI-generated child sexual abuse material. Many states are passing legislation to criminalize the production of this type of material. So first of all, Meta is completely failing in reviewing advertisements that make it onto these platforms. But second of all, make sure your children do not have access to these apps and also understand how serious something like this is. You do not want to deal with a criminal investigation into your child's use of these apps on other children. And how would your child feel if this was done to them? I talked more about this specific issue in my interview with Senator Ted Cruz that will drop tomorrow, Saturday, September 7th. Be sure to catch that and learn about legislation that Senator Cruz has introduced to protect our children from this threat. Next, we're going to talk about grooming, specifically online grooming. I recently interviewed a former law enforcement officer named John Pizzuro here on the podcast, and I saw a lot of questions in reaction to that on how to know when your child is being groomed, how to spot it, and how to prepare your child. I'm bringing in additional experts to help parents with this issue because online grooming is really hard to spot until it's too late. It's happening on social media platforms. It's happening on gaming chats and Discord. Even Minecraft and Roblox are filled with predators who are looking for children. And so this week, tons of media outlets covered a story about a boy, now a man, named Harrison Haynes. So Harrison's 20 years old now and in college, but he's speaking out about his story of being groomed as a 12 and 13-year-old. The predator that engaged with Harrison used video game chats and eventually moved the conversation to iMessage. Harrison was convinced to take sexually explicit images and videos of himself and even perform self-harm acts. In this case, Harrison's parents found out about the grooming and they were able to help Harrison out of the situation. He is now recovered, and through it, he actually used a flip phone for 2 years and no social media, which is incredible. I am going to be interviewing Harrison in a couple of weeks and digging into his story further. I want to get specific advice for parents on how to spot grooming and how to approach your child. One thing to take away from today is that Harrison's parents did not freak out when they found out their young son was being sexually exploited and groomed. I imagine this was very difficult, but it is truly the key to earning your child's trust in hard situations like this. When your child finds themselves in a difficult situation online, even when they have made a mistake or done something wrong, we need to stay calm and be their safe space. Otherwise, they will not come to us in the future. Thank you to Harrison for speaking out on your experience. I know it is vulnerable and difficult to do this, and parents are grateful. Now let's talk about Snapchat. This week, Snapchat founder Evan Spiegel put out a very long update to his staff and to the public. It basically makes a bunch of excuses for why Snapchat is showing declining year-over-year growth. There's a lot of finger pointing and justifications and a lot of announcements on what we can expect from Snapchat in the coming months and years to improve their performance. I won't go into all the details, but I do want to share one update that we need to be aware of as parents. Snapchat is soon going to start putting advertisements in our children's direct message box. The update says that these ads will not initiate a push notification and will be optional to open, but the problem here is that often our children are getting served advertisements on social media that are completely inappropriate for them. Like the example I gave about Meta earlier advertising Nudify apps to kids. So now not only are our kids going to see inappropriate ads in other areas of Snapchat, they're going to get direct messages with these inappropriate advertisements. This might be a great way for Snapchat and the advertisers to make more money, but this is not great for kids. I will link to Snapchat's full update in the episode notes if you're interested in learning more. And last update for this week, which is a huge update about Snapchat that just dropped as I'm prepping this interview, Snapchat has now been sued by the state of New Mexico over failing to protect children from sexual exploitation. This lawsuit was filed on Thursday, September 4th, and states that Snapchat's policies and design features facilitate the sharing of child sexual abuse material. This is after a months-long investigation that found that Snapchat is the primary platform used for sextortion. I have several interviews on my podcast with parents who've lost children to suicide after a sextortion attempt. Please listen to those stories. It's really important to understand how this happens, but basically, a predator coerces a minor into sending a sexualized image or video and then threatens to share the content unless more sexual content is shared or money is paid. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres shares about the lawsuit, quote, Snap has misled users into believing that photos and videos sent on their platform will disappear. But predators can permanently capture this content, and they have created a virtual yearbook of child sexual images that are traded, sold, and stored indefinitely. Within this investigation, lots of things happened, but they set up a decoy account for a 14-year-old girl, which was contacted by another account called Child Rape, and others with explicit names. Investigators also found 10,000 records related to Snap and child sexual abuse content on dark websites. And they're saying that Snapchat was by far the largest source of images and videos among the dark websites investigated. This is crazy. I'm trying to process this. The platform that our kids want to use so bad to talk to their friends, they put so much pressure on us parents, is also the #1 platform for predators to sexually exploit those same children. That is horrific. Please keep your kids off Snapchat, or at a very minimum, talk to them about the dangers of sharing sexualized or nude imagery on the internet. That is all I have time for this week. Check my Instagram at scrolling2death with the number 2 for daily updates. And as always, thank you to being open to this important conversation. Every story you hear, every update I share, every news update is a little nugget of education that you can take to your children and protect them online. I will catch you next week.